Part 1: The Arrival of the Unknown. In the vastness of the galaxy, nestled among swirling nebulae and distant stars, lay the Nexus Prime Advanced Military Academy, a prestigious institution renowned for training the galaxy's most elite warriors. Its commander, Yarrick Tholan, was a towering figure among his peers, known for his strategic mind and unwavering commitment to excellence. Commander Tholan had seen many species come and go during his tenure at the Academy, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses. However, nothing could prepare him for the arrival of Cadet Lila Hart, a human girl who barely reached his waist. As she stood in front of him, her petite frame seemed almost fragile against the backdrop of armored aliens that filled the Academy halls. Her skin was a soft shade of peach, contrasting sharply with the metallic hues of the other cadets who were equipped with exoskeletons or natural armor. "Cadet Hart," he began, his voice deep and resonant, "you do understand that our training programs are designed for species far more robust than your own?" Lila met his gaze with unwavering determination in her bright blue eyes. "Yes, Commander, but I believe I can manage," she replied confidently. Tholan raised an eyebrow at her audacity but couldn't help but feel intrigued by this human spirit. Behind him, Sub-Commander Vrax, a hulking figure made entirely of crystalline armor, snorted derisively. "Commander," Vrax interjected through his breathing filters, "this is a waste of resources. She'll wash out within days." Ignoring Vrax's skepticism, Tholan continued to assess Lila's transfer credentials displayed on his holoscreen. "You are aware that our medical bay is not equipped for your kind?" he asked. "I've already submitted my waivers through the neural network," Lila replied with a hint of pride. As she left his office, Tholan couldn't shake off an unsettling feeling that accepting her transfer was a mistake. The Academy had produced warriors capable of defending entire star systems. How could this small creature possibly endure their rigorous training regimen? Later that evening during a faculty gathering, discussions about Lila's future echoed through the lounge like ripples in water. 3 days, Professor Glix wagered casually as he sipped his drink. "I give her a week," Lieutenant Yara chimed in with an air of confidence. Only Dr. Pax remained contemplative as he observed Lila's physical baseline scores on his display screen. "You know," he mused thoughtfully while waving his sensory tentacles in contemplation, "humans are classified as persistence predators on their home world." "What does that even mean?" Yara scoffed. "They chase their prey until it tires," Dr. Pax explained. Laughter erupted among the faculty members at this absurd notion. How could tiring out prey be an effective hunting strategy? Yet as Tholan reviewed Lila's metrics further, one statistic caught his attention: endurance. While her strength ratings were abysmal compared to their Thoraxan cadets and her reaction times paled against their swiftest warriors, Lila's endurance levels were exceptional, off the charts compared to any other species they had trained. Dismissive thoughts crept into Tholan's mind. Perhaps it was merely a malfunction in their testing drones. After all, how could a species without natural weapons or armor possibly endure their combat training? The following morning marked the beginning of Lila's journey at the Academy as she joined her fellow first-year cadets in the assembly yard. While other species naturally grouped together based on similarities, be it crystalline forms or armored exoskeletons, Lila stood alone. Her stance was peculiar. Instead of appearing weak or isolated, she surveyed her surroundings with keen awareness, a predator among prey. The first week unfolded predictably. Chaos and confusion reigned as cadets adjusted to their new environment. Reports flooded into the medical bay from various injuries sustained during training exercises, except none concerned Cadet Hart. Sub-Commander Vrax took particular pleasure in assigning Lila to physically demanding tasks, hauling graviton stabilizers and cleaning acidic residue from weapon ranges, but she never complained or faltered under pressure. "Most peculiar," Dr. Pax remarked during their daily briefing after reviewing yet another report on Lila's performance metrics. "Her cellular repair rate is off the charts," he continued as he gestured toward a biorhythm chart displaying Lila's muscle fibers regenerating stronger after each task. "Impossible. Vrax rumbled incredulously. No species can simply adapt on demand. But Tholan felt compelled to observe Lila personally during training sessions after witnessing her relentless spirit firsthand. The obstacle course designed by their combat specialists was brutal, it challenged even their most enhanced beings. As expected, Lila lagged behind among her peers but never stopped moving, a steady pace maintained hour after hour while others struggled and required rest periods. During one particularly grueling segment involving increased gravitational forces calibrated beyond safe limits for all cadets except Thoraxan ones, something extraordinary happened. Instead of collapsing under pressure like any rational being would expect from a human frame, she dropped to all fours and crawled forward slowly but steadily. It took her 14 minutes to cross just 10 meters, a feat that should have been impossible given her anatomy, but she crossed it nonetheless. Fascinating, Dr. Pax whispered beside Tholan as they watched from above. Her bones aren't breaking, they're reinforcing themselves under pressure. As days turned into weeks filled with more trials and tribulations than anyone anticipated for Cadet Hart at Nexus Prime Academy, their expectations began shifting ever so slightly away from mere skepticism toward intrigue surrounding this peculiar human girl who defied all odds stacked against her. Part 2, The First Trials. The Nexus Prime Academy's training grounds buzzed with anticipation as Lila Hart stood among 30 cadets from 14 species. Combat Master Zeker, a 7-foot-tall reptilian warrior with bioluminescent scars, loomed over the group. Today, he hissed, you learned survival in the Crimson Wastes. The holographic terrain shifted around them, morphing into a jagged volcanic landscape with air thick enough to choke unadapted lungs. Endurance test. Lila's squad included Cadet Vorn, a hulking Thoraxian with natural armor plating. Cadet Krell, a lithe insectoid from the methane swamps of Xyrus. Medic Torvin, a veteran field doctor overseeing biological limits. The objective, cross 20 miles of simulated wasteland carrying 50-pound supply crates. Vorn scoffed at Lila's crate. Human, your arms will snap like twigs. Yet as the trial progressed, the Thoraxian's energy reserves dwindled under the dual sun's glare. Lila maintained a steady jog, her sweat-drenched uniform clinging to lean muscles. By mile 15, Krell collapsed from heat exhaustion. Should I assist? Torvin asked Zeker, monitoring vitals. Let the weak perish, the combat master growled. Lila paused. Against protocol, she redistributed Krell's supplies into her pack. Conserve water, she advised the shuddering insectoid, demonstrating a slow-breathing technique. Zeker's tail lashed at this defiance, but Torvin noted, her respiratory efficiency exceeds baseline by 300%. The cave incident. At mile 18, the terrain shifted violently, a programmed earthquake collapsed the path ahead. Vorn panicked, thrashing against falling debris. Lila yanked him backward as a boulder crushed his former position. Stop. Think, she ordered, pressing a palm to his chest carapace. The group huddled in a sulphurous cave. Krell's chitinous shell cracked from dehydration. We die here, Vorn rasped. Lila removed her boots. Follow my footsteps exactly. She'd noticed faint heat patterns in the rock, a dormant geothermal vent. Using her nails to scratch at the cavern wall, she revealed a trickle of potable water condensed from underground steam. Adaptation under fire. On the final stretch, Zeker activated surprise artillery drones. Plasma fire rained as cadets scattered. Vorn took a glancing blast to his left armor plate. Fall back, he roared. Lila did the opposite. She sprinted toward the drone's origin point, using their targeting lag against bulkier foes. When a searing bolt grazed her thigh, she didn't scream, she rolled, smearing volcanic ash on the wound to cauterize it. Insane mammal. Zeker barked, but his slit pupils dilated with interest as she disabled a drone using its own shrapnel. Aftermath. That evening, Dr. Pax reviewed Lila's biometrics with Commander Tholan. Muscle fiber regeneration, 8x faster than initial scans. Pain threshold, off standardized charts. Water conservation, 72 hours without fluid intake. Vorn approached Lila in the mess hall, mandibles clicking awkwardly. Your tactics. Teach me. Across the observation deck, Sub-Commander Vrax glared. She's a fluke. Next trial breaks her. But Tholan watched Lila demonstrate pressure point combat to 3 cadets. Her fingers danced across Vorn's armored joints, revealing vulnerabilities. No, he murmured. She's rewriting our playbook. As twin moons rose, Lila retreated to the training halls, not to lift weights, but to study holograms of yesterday's battles. Her eyes tracked every mistake, every opportunity. When the lights dimmed, she began shadowboxing, movements fluid as quicksilver. Zeker observed from the shadows. For the first time in decades, the combat master felt the prickling sensation of being outmaneuvered. Part 3: Unforeseen Strengths. The air in Nexus Prime's tactical simulation chamber hummed with tension as Lila faced her greatest challenge yet, Operation Iron Veil, a war game designed to break even veteran soldiers. Across the holographic battlefield stood Colonel Draxus, a battle-scarred strategist from the reptilian Krellix Dominion, who'd never lost a simulated engagement in 20 cycles. The stakes. Objective: capture the energy core in a derelict space station. Teams. Lila's unit, 8 cadets, mixed species. Draxus forces, 30 drone soldiers plus 2 armored mechs. Twist: Draxus controlled the station's failing life support systems. Begin, thundered Commander Tholan through the comms. Phase 1, the Gauntlet. Lila's team found themselves in a crumbling hangar bay. Cadet Vorn immediately suggested frontal assault. We outflank them here. No, Lila interrupted, studying heat signatures on her wrist display. They want us to charge. Look. She highlighted patterns in the debris field, perfect kill zones. Instead of advancing, she had the insectoid cadet Krell deploy pheromone markers while she scaled a collapsing support beam. When Draxus drones rushed their position, they found only holographic decoys. Draxus' first mistake: focus fire on Sector Gamma, he barked, exactly where Lila wanted him looking. Phase 2, the Deception. As oxygen levels dropped to 12%, Lila made her move. She injected herself with a hypospray of concentrated hemoglobin. Buy me 6 minutes, she told Vorn, then crawled through a plasma-scorched ventilation shaft. Draxus sensors detected nothing, human body heat registered too low against the station's residual radiation. When Lila emerged behind enemy lines, she didn't attack. She sabotaged. Reprogrammed mech fuel cells to overpressurize. Rerouted coolant lines into the drone charging stations. Left a biometric trap using her own blood sample. The resulting chain reaction destroyed 40% of Draxus forces. Phase 3, the Revelation. With 3 minutes remaining, Lila's team reached the core chamber, only to find it booby-trapped. Impossible to disarm in time, Krell hissed, antennae drooping. Lila studied the holographic lock. Not impossible. Just needs. Her fingers flew across the interface. What's she doing? Tholan leaned forward in the observation deck. Dr. Pax's tentacles quivered. Reconfiguring the station's ancient human-derived security protocols. Look at the code structure, she's using pre-spaceflight encryption keys. The lock disengaged with 11 seconds remaining. Aftermath. Draxus stormed into the debriefing chamber, scales flushed crimson. Cheap tricks. No honorable warrior. Honor? Lila's voice cut through his rage. She displayed battle footage where Draxus had sacrificed his own drones to flush her out. You used sentient beings as bait. I used physics. The room fell silent. Key revelations. Human pain tolerance allowed Lila to endure 0-2 levels fatal to other species. Primitive human tech proved compatible with ancient galactic systems. Biometric traps using human DNA confused enemy scanners. As cadets dispersed, Sub-Commander Vrax cornered Lila. Your victory changes nothing, mammal. Real battles aren't won with. A proximity alarm blared. On the observation deck, Dolan watched security feeds as Lila, instead of resting, began modifying training drones with Krell. What's she building? Dr. Pax asked. Dolan zoomed in. Something new. The drones now flew in fractal patterns, their movements mirroring human swarm tactics from 21st century Earth. Nearby, Vorn studied the patterns intently. She's not just surviving, Dolan realized. She's teaching. That night, 7 cadets requested neural uploads of ancient human military texts. The revolution had begun. Part 4, The Crucible. The Sabotage. The Academy's central power grid failed during peak training hours, plunging the compound into artificial night. Emergency protocols activated as atmospheric processors groaned under strain. Commander Yarrick Tholan's voice boomed through the intercom, all cadets to evacuation pods immediately. Lila Hart stood frozen in the combat simulator chamber, her retinal display flashing warnings. O2 levels, 14% and falling. Gravity variance, 0.8 g to 3.2 g fluctuations. Radiation leak, beta particles detected. Across the flickering holographic battlefield, Cadet Vorn's armored form staggered. Systems failing. Can't, cough, reach exit. Lila's response. Ripped her uniform sleeve to fashion a crude air filter. Disabled safety protocols on a deactivated combat drone. Programmed erratic gravity pulses to stabilize structural beams. Follow my path exactly, she ordered, mapping a route through collapsing debris using her neural implant's primitive infrared sensors. 1. The trap revealed. In the maintenance tunnels, Lila discovered sabotage. Evidence found significance. Plasmacut power conduits, professional-grade tools used. Residual Thoraxian DNA matched Cadet Vorn's genetic profile. Hacked security logs framed job implicating Lila. Sub-Commander Vrax arrived with armed guards. Human. You've violated. Lila activated a holographic replay showing Vorn's sabotage attempts from 3 cycles prior. Check the timestamps. I was in medical during these breaches. Critical discovery. Saboteur used human-like attack patterns to frame Lila. Security system vulnerabilities matched Dr. Pax's research parameters. The trial by fire. As radiation levels became lethal for non-humans, Lila made a desperate gambit. Phase 1, redirected coolant flow to create an oxygen-rich bubble. Python. Hashtag code fragment from Academy Systems, translated. If radiation_level greater than 5000. Coolant_valve.open, 75%. Life_support.prioritize_sector, gamma. Phase 2, used her enhanced pain tolerance to manually repair breached conduits. 42% body burn sustained. Cortisol levels spiked to 3000 μg/dl, fatal for other species. Phase 3, lured the true saboteur, a mind-controlled Dr. Pax, into an airlock using her own biometric signature as bait. The revelation. In the climactic confrontation, Lila's opponent revealed itself, a parasitic neural entity infesting Dr. Pax's tentacles. Entity's weakness. Couldn't process human dopamine patterns. Confused by Lila's adrenaline spikes during combat. You shouldn't be functional, the entity shrieked through Dr. Pax's mouth. Lila grinned through bloodied teeth. Human bodies cheat. She triggered a massive endorphin release via voluntary pain induction, overloading the parasite sensors. Aftermath. The Academy's damaged sections vented into space, taking the entity with them. Survivors huddled in Lila's engineered safe zone, their prejudices shattered alongside the crystalline walls. Key outcomes. Dr. Pax survived with 60% tentacle loss. Vorn admitted to being manipulated via pheromone packets. Security protocols rewritten using human biometric patterns. Commander Tholan approached Lila in medbay, her burns already forming pink scar tissue. How did you know? She tapped her temple. Persistence predators remember everything. That night, 7 alien cadets requested human-style endurance training. The saboteur had failed. Lila's greatest weakness became the Academy's new strength.